The best sour cream pound cake on the internet. This is super easy to make. It doesn't take a lot of ingredients, and it takes you back to a time when you was growing up and your grandma or your great auntie made one. You don't need no glaze for this one. This is super easy to make. So the first thing we're gonna do is cream together our butter and sugar in a bowl of a stand mixer. I got 3 cups of sugar going down, granulated sugar, and then I got 3 sticks of salted butter. Salted butter is all that I had. You can use salted or unsalted butter. It's not going to affect the taste, but it will affect the sodium level. So if you're watching your sodium, you might want to use unsalted butter, but salted butter is all that I had. So I'm creaming this together, and this is going to take about 5 to 7 minutes. A lot of people do not properly cream their butter and sugar when it comes to their pound cake, and this is what helps your cake get tall and fluffy and tender. So you definitely don't want to skip on this step. So as you can see, as I'm creaming the butter and sugar, it's starting to come together, and then I'm increasing the speed a little bit. And as I'm increasing the speed, you can see it's starting to stick to the sides of the bowl. That's how you know that you've properly creamed together your butter and sugar. And you can see it's doubled in volume. I'm going to show you the color. At first it was a yellow tint. Now it is, white and fluffy. Once you get to this stage, you want to scrape down your bowl just to make sure everything from the bottom of the bowl, as far as butter, is getting well incorporated. So just take like a minute or two to make sure you scraping down your bowl, getting this stuff on a spatula, just making sure everything is well combined. So I'm mixing a little bit more. I think I only mix for maybe 1 to 2 minutes. It is super important that you do not over cream, but you don't want to under cream either. The next thing you're going to do is crack in all of your eggs. Now these are a lot of eggs, but this is needed. It helps you with the height of the cake. And yeah, so you're definitely going to need all these eggs. These are large eggs. This is about 6 eggs going in. Remember, the full recipe will be in the description below. So just don't try to go by the video, read the description as well. Also, if you're looking for more sour cream pound cakes like this, my pound cake ebook is in my bio, where you can go over and get all of my recipes from start to finish, including 20 of my custom made pound cakes that I used to sell online before I started doing videos. But back to the video, I got my mixer on low speed and I'm slowly adding in my eggs one at a time. You do not want to go past low speed when adding in your eggs, because if you whip air into your egg whites, it can make your cake collapse. So just keep that in mind. So what I'm looking for before adding in the next eggs is the previous egg yolk needs to be completely combined into the butter and sugar mixer before adding in the next egg. You really want to be super careful when you're adding in your eggs, because if you undermix them, it could be a problem. But if you overmix it, it is going to be a problem. So just kind of keep that happy medium, like 5 seconds before adding the next egg. But once all of your eggs are in your batter, you're going to take your spatula and you're going to go around your bowl. You want to go under your pound cake batter to make sure every egg yolk or all of that is mixed in completely. Now you're going to add your sifted white lily all-purpose flour, salt, and baking powder. Now, I did forget to add in my salt and baking powder, but that's a half teaspoon of each going in, and I'm mixing it in there. But yeah, so don't forget that. But you're going to add that in, kind of a spoonful at a time. This is 3 cups of white lily all-purpose flour, and I have my mixer on low speed, and I'm slowly adding it in. Do not go past low speed, because if you go past low speed, excuse me, you will start to develop gluten, and gluten is what makes cakes taste bready, and you don't want that. So now I'm, just continuously mixing it in so I get all of that all-purpose flour, salt, and baking powder in there. There's no rush on this, and you want to make sure you do this part right. So don't, just kind of take your time with it. But once I got all of that all-purpose flour in there, what I'm going to do next is add in my sour cream and vanilla extract. I added some vanilla extract into my sour cream so I wouldn't forget it. And this is a full cup, so 8 ounces of sour cream. You just get the small thing of sour cream, and it'll be 8 ounces. You're going to mix it into your cake, but you're not going to mix longer than 10 seconds. Like I said, we don't want to develop gluten because it still is a cake and not bread. So once it's fully combined, I'm going to give my cake batter one little, scrape down just to make sure everything is combined. Really, really take your time. You're not going to over mix it with, going by hand. But if you was to use, your stand mixer, yeah, because the stand mixer is mechanical and you are human. So just by you folding it in and making sure everything is well combined is not over mixing it. Okay, so you're going to take it off. And then I have my cake goop in my pound cake pan. I threw it in the freezer for about 10 minutes, and this is to help the cake goop stick to the pan. So cake goop is basically your cake release. It helps your cake not to stick, and I've been using this on the past 4 or 5 cakes, and it's been working great. But if you don't have that, you can use some Pam or Baker's Joy. I do not know why people love Baker's Joy. I'll before I started using Pam, Baker's Joys used to make my cake stick all the time. So I'm not a Baker's Joy fan, but if you swear by it, what you want to do is spray it on your pan and put it in the freezer for like 10 minutes to let it stick to the pan. But yeah, comment if you've had great success with Baker's Joy. I just never had success with it. So you want to take your cake pan and you want to tap it around. Make sure you get all the air bubbles out. Spend around 2 to 3 minutes doing this. Bake this on 325. Every oven is different. Mine took about an hour and 25 minutes. I let my cake cool for about 5 to 10 minutes. And yeah, as you can see, that cake goop did its job. It did not stick at all and it looked really good. Add a glaze if you want. You really don't need no glaze. It's sweet enough. But if you want more pound cake recipes, check out my pound cake ebook and make sure you like and subscribe. Lemon Cream Cheese Mile High Pound Cake. This is an ultra cake that is super delicious. It has a nice lemon glaze. It's super moist and fluffy on the inside. That glaze is to die for. As you can see me tasting the piece as I'm cutting the cake. I'm not going to waste your time. Let's jump into the video. You're going to need some softened cream cheese, a lemon, some butter. You're also going to need some eggs. You're going to need some flour, sugar. In this video, I'm using White Lily all-purpose flour. I got some cake goop. This will be my first time using it for my pan. Some lemon and vanilla extract, some salt. Let me pause for a second and show you the salt that I'm using. I got it from Kroger. I'm also using some baking powder from Kroger, so I just want to show that just in case, you guys are looking for the same thing on a cheap budget. So before we start making the cake, I'm going to preheat my oven to 325, and I'm going to coat the pan that I'm using in some cake goop. This is a homemade cake release. I usually use Pam, but I ran out, so we're going to see how this turns out with this cake. I also threw my cake pan in the freezer to let that cake release adhere to the pan, but that is optional if you guys want to do that. So now I'm just measuring out my flour, my salt, my baking powder. I'm going to sift this together. And you see me weighing my ingredients instead of doing individual cups and doing it one at a time. I want to say it's because I'm a pro baker at this point, but it's really I don't want to mess up a lot of dishes. I also weighed out my sugar and added some lemon zest to that sugar. I don't know where that clip went, but now you see me cracking in my eggs. This is 8 eggs. These are room temperature, by the way. If your eggs are sweating, they're not room temperature. It should be completely room temperature with no type of condensation or anything on the eggs at all. I also would like to mention that my Southern Bundt Cake ebook series is on sale right now. In those books, there are over 50 plus pound cake recipes that you guys can choose from. And it's also a way to support the channel. The link to it will be in the description. I meant to say this in the last video, but do not put your vanilla extract or your lemon extract in your eggs. If you do that, your eggs will begin to scramble. I don't know why it does that, but that's just a heads up. And so I'm going to juice one lemon. I'm going to cut it in half, and I'm going to use this juicer that gets rid of all the seeds and the pulp and all the extra stuff that you don't want in your lemon juice. Altogether, this is about 1 to 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. Now, you can use some lemon juice that's already squeezed out. I just don't because it kind of tastes different than just natural lemon. But if that's all you have, I understand. Just be careful. I probably would do just 1 teaspoon. So yeah, that's about 1 to 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. So we're going to put that to the side. We're going to cover that up. And now we're going to get started making the cake. In a bowl of a stand mixer, I'm going to add in my lemon sugar. This is 3.5 cups that's going in. Then I'm going to add in 4 sticks of room temperature butter. Please make sure that your butter is room temperature or it will not whip up well. I'm going to add the paddle attachment and we're going to beat this for a good 5 minutes. Now, usually I will add in my cream cheese, butter, and sugar together, but the last time I did it, it kind of mixed really crazy. So now I'm just doing it separately. So the butter and sugar goes in first. And then after about maybe 3 to 4 minutes, I'm going to add in 9 ounces of that cream cheese. Make sure that you're stopping your mixer and scraping it down your bowl. Because I have the scraper on my paddle attachment, I really don't have to do that much when it comes to scraping down the bowl. But make sure if you're just doing a regular beater attached to your KitchenAid, make sure that you stop and scrape down your bowl. 9 ounces of regular cream cheese is going in, and then I'm going to mix that for an additional maybe 3 to 4 minutes. We're looking for this to be white and fluffy and double in value. When I stop the mixer, you'll kind of see what I'm talking about. I tried to get a close-up as much as I could on my mixer. But yeah, it's going to look like kind of a cream cheese buttercream frosting. Doing this process in the beginning is making your pound cake a lot more fluffy, and it's building up that air that's going to make your pound cake tall. So I'm going to close it down again after scraping it and just give it a little bit more of a mix through. I just want to make sure everything is well combined. And you see me kind of turning it up to kind of make sure everything is creamed together properly. So now I'm going to turn my mixer to low speed, and then I'm going to add in my eggs one at a time. You do not want to rush this part, and you also do not want to mix this for very long. Part of the reason why people cakes collapse majority of the time is because they overmix their eggs. And what people don't know is the actual egg whites can whip up and add more air to your cake. And what happens is when you bake it, is going to inflate, which means get taller, but when you take it out and let it cool, it deflates and it has gluten streaks in it. Or if you whip too much air in it, it can collapse completely. So that's why I have this mixer on low speed and I'm slowly adding in the eggs one at a time. I'm waiting until I see like 80 to 90% of the egg yolk disappear before adding in the next egg. This is the most important part of the pound cake recipe because this has a lot of eggs in it, so this can be easier for you to overmix. So make sure that you're doing it exactly like you see it here, one at a time. Make sure it's fully combined. So once all of my eggs are mixed in, I'm going to slowly add in my sifted flour mixture, which is the flour, baking powder, and salt. I only sifted it one time, but sift it how many times you like. I should also mention this is also on low speed as well, so you don't want to go past low speed. So that reserved lemon juice that I had, I'm going to add some of that in there, and I'm going to alternate between the flour and the lemon juice. Remember that you always want to start and end with flour on every single pound cake. This is 4 cups of all-purpose flour going in, and like I said, I will leave the recipe below, but you have your salt, your baking powder in there at a half a teaspoon. And like I said, we're just alternating between the flour and the lemon juice. Make sure you start and end with flour. This might seem like it's taking a long time to do, but you do not want to add more speed to your mixer, because if you add too much speed to it, it can taste like bread and add gluten streaks, and that's not what we want in a cake. So once I add all the flour and the lemon juice in, I'm just going to give it a final mix. You kind of want to tilt your pan, not tilt your pan, but tilt your bowl a little bit to make sure that you're getting the stuff at the bottom, to make sure that when you go to pour this, that everything is well combined and it's not separating. So just kind of tilt it, move your spatula around, and this is the texture that you're looking for. It's thick, it's dense, but it's also silky smooth. I took my pound cake pan out the freezer, and as you can see, that coating has completely frozen onto the pan. So I'm just going to start pouring my pound cake batter into my pound cake pan, trying to tilt and get as much of it in there as possible. You do not want to save any pound cake mix. And as you can see, it completely fills up the pan. I think I have maybe an inch of space left. But like I said, this is a very tall cake, and it's also a very good cake as well. So, it can feed a lot of people. I'm spreading it around with my spoon, and then I'm just going to kind of tap it to get rid of those air bubbles and kind of turn it around and tap it some more. I want to say in total, I gave this around 15 to 20 taps. So you want to do that just to get rid of all those air bubbles. It's going in a 325-degree oven for an hour and 25 minutes exactly. Now, every oven is different. Your bake time is going to depend on your oven. But once a toothpick comes out clean with nothing on it, your cake is completely done. So I'm just checking all sides of the cake. And as you can see, this cake looks beautiful. Now, I was kind of nervous at this point because I hadn't used the cake goop before. This is my first time using it. So I was kind of nervous if it would actually slide out or it would stick. But I put my cake board on top of the cake. I let it kind of cool for at least 5 to 10 minutes. And as you can see, I was pleasantly surprised that it did not stick at all. And it came out great. Look at it, no stickage. Those little white spots are kind of like flour that was in the cake goop mixture. But other than that, I'm very, very happy with this. It came out clean. This was my first time using cake goop. So now I'm going to be using cake goop for now on because I do have a full jar of it. So I'm very, very happy with this. Now, while the cake is warm, I'm going to saran wrap it and put it in the refrigerator. And this is a process called sweating the cake out. It just helps make the cake a lot more moist. And so in about 30 minutes to an hour, I'm going to take it back and I'm going to make my glaze. So I got another lemon and I'm just juicing that lemon in the same way we juiced the lemon in the beginning of the video. Just make sure I'm removing all the pulp and the seeds. And this is another 1 to 2 tablespoons of lemon juice out of both of those lemons. And I'm going to add this to 2 cups of Domino's powdered sugar. Then I'm going to add 1 to 2 tablespoons of warm milk. Now this is warm whole milk, and you want to adjust the consistency to like how you like it as far as your glaze goes. If you like it slightly thinner, add some more milk. If you like it thicker, add less milk. But however you like your glaze, definitely do it like that. I like mine somewhere in between, so you can see it's pourable, but it's still thick, and when it cools, it's going to look very, very nice. Now I'm just going to glaze my whole cake and then let it drip to the side. Any excess at the bottom of this cake, like all the excess you see dropping from the cake, I'm going to take a spoon and kind of, add it back to the top of the cake to give it a little bit more of that drip effect. So I'm adding it along the sides. Now, if you bake your cake in a Bundt pan, you're not going to need the amount of glaze that I need. Being that this is a circular pound cake pan, I needed a lot more glaze than if I was using a Bundt cake pan. But yeah, you're going to let your pound cake glaze kind of set up for around 5 to 10 minutes, and then you're going to cut into it and you can enjoy it. If you enjoy watching this video, give it a like and make sure you subscribe. Also, like I said, my pound cake, Southern Pound Cakes 1 through 4 ebooks are available in my bio. This looks and tastes like a traditional pound cake, but it's made in 5 minutes and it's made with putting all the ingredients in a bowl at one time. This pound cake is ready in under 5 minutes, and I'm going to show you how to make it in this video. So here is what you will need in order to make this. You're going to need some sugar. It doesn't matter what type of sugar you have. You're going to need some white lily all-purpose flour or cake flour. I'm using cake flour in this recipe. You cannot use any other flour or any other all-purpose flour because it's not going to be soft enough. You're also going to need 9 ounces of room temperature cream cheese, 6 eggs room temperature, and 4 sticks of butter room temperature. Room temperature means that it has been out for 2 hours and the eggs are not sweating. For the flavorings, I'm using some vanilla extract and lemon extract, but whatever flavoring you like in your cake, you can add it to there. You will also need a stand mixer. It doesn't have to be a KitchenAid. It can be any type of stand mixer as long as your bowl is 4 to 5 quarts. Now we're ready to start mixing. I got some cake flour at the bottom. I'm adding in some baking powder, about a half teaspoon of baking powder, and I'm going to add a little bit of salt to this as well. You want to mix this thoroughly. I'm not sifting it, but you can if you want to. For me, I don't think it's necessary for this recipe, but I got some pink Himalayan salt going in, and I'm going to whisk that together as well. Now, I'm using cake flour in this recipe because we don't have enough time to cream the butter and the sugar to make it light and fluffy. Normally, I would use all-purpose flour, white lily all-purpose flour to be exact, but since this is a quick recipe, we're going to use cake flour. Next, you're going to add the sugar on top of that, and you're going to make sure the flour is covered. This is very important when it comes to this method because we're going to be reverse creaming. Next, you're going to layer your butter on top of that. And like I said, we're mixing everything in one bowl, so you're not going to have to mix everything separately. So if you're a person who does not know how to make a pound cake, or have made pound cakes but if it came out wrong, you can definitely do this. So I'm just layering the butter on top of the sugar, and I'm gonna kind of center it into the middle of the bowl so it can mix evenly at one time. Now on top of the butter, we're going to add in our room temperature cream cheese, and make sure everything is room temperature. This is super important, or this method will not work. Like I said at the beginning of the video, if your eggs are sweating, they're not room temperature. They should be room temperature, and you should not feel any type of cold on the egg. Now I'm cracking each egg in a bowl because we're going to beat this together. We don't have the time to mix each egg into the butter and the sugar if we were doing a regular pound cake. So me mixing it all together and beating it all together, make sure that it's well incorporated before we add it to the batter, will actually help the cake taste better and actually have a better crumb. So this is not your normal two-step pound cake recipe. I made it my own and rewrote it to make sure that you guys have the best success with this pound cake. I forgot to spray my pan and then freeze it, so that's what I'm doing now. I got my pan spray. This is the only spray that I use for my pound cakes. This is a Nordic Ware pound cake pan. I'll link to it below. But I'm just spraying this pan, and I'm making sure I get every single part of this pan. You do not want your cake sticking whatsoever. And once I spray the pan, I'm going to put it in the freezer so it can solidify. So while that's solidifying in the freezer, I'm going to add in my eggs on top of the butter and the cream cheese and sugar. And then I'm also going to add in some vanilla extract and lemon extract, like I said. Now you can use almond extract or butter extract or whatever type of extract you want. This part is really up to you, whatever type of flavor you like in your pound cake, or you can do 5 flavors. It really doesn't matter. Now that we got all of our ingredients in the bowl, it's time to start mixing. Now this is super important when it comes to your pound cake coming out right. So I got this whisk with the side sweeper, and I felt like it'll be perfect for this since we're mixing everything at one time. I also have a spatula that I'm going to use to scrape down my bowl and pan, but we're going to start with the mixer on low speed for around 2 to 3 minutes. Right now, I'm just looking for everything to get well combined, including the flour. When you can see no more flour at the bottom of your bowl, that's when you're ready to stop mixing. But as you can see, I still see flour and it's still having a hard time mixing it together. That's why we're going on low speed. We don't want to break our mixer. But once everything is well combined, it's going to start to speed up, as you can see right here. And once it starts to speed up, I'm going to stop it, and then I'm going to scrape down my bowl with my spatula. This is super important. You want to make sure all of your ingredients are combined together. So make sure you thoroughly get everything from the sides of the bowl to the bottom of the bowl, mix it up, and just really take your time with this part because you want to make sure, like I said, everything is combined. Once you feel like everything is scraped down, we're going to turn the mixer back on and we're going to take it up to medium high speed, and we're going to mix for around 1 to 3 minutes. Now pay attention because you do not want to over mix this. Once I start seeing that everything is creaming together properly, I'm going to stop the mixer. Now, this video is sped up a little bit, so that's why I'm saying it's going to be 1 to 3 minutes. But once your pound cake batter looks like this, then you're good to go. As long as there's no large chunks of flour or no large chunks of butter, you're good to go. If you see that, continue mixing for around, it's only going to take 1 to 3 minutes. So, but continue mixing until you see no big large chunks of it. Now, if they're small, then that's fine. That's going to all melt and come together in the oven. As you can see maybe a little small chunks of butter in my pound cake batter, but that, like I said, that's fine. As long as overall the pound cake batter is homogeneous, then you're good to go. I should also mention that this recipe will be in the description along with my pound cake ebooks. Now I have over 40 pound cake recipes on my website that you guys can take advantage of. When it comes to pound cakes, I kind of know what I'm talking about, so that'll be linked in my bio as well. But now we're ready to start baking our pound cake. The oven is preheated to 325. I took my pound cake pan out of the freezer, and as you can see, the spray has solidified to the pan, so this is going to be great because it's not going to stick. So now we're just pouring everything into our pound cake pan, and we're just turning it to make sure that all of the mix gets in there. You want to make sure your pound cake pan is filled up to the rim. Do not try to save some of the pound cake batter and put it in another pan. It's not going to work. All of this needs to be baked together. Also, make sure you're getting everything off of the spatula. That is super, super, super important. When I was developing this recipe, I wanted to make sure that this pound cake could be done from anywhere and that anybody could do a pound cake. So when I saw the two-step pound cake recipe, I kind of made it my own. I went and I kind of did my, my scientific research on what I can do to make the recipe better for you guys. So this is super, super easy that anybody can do this right now, whether you're preparing for Thanksgiving or you just had trouble like making a regular pound cake. Not everybody can bake, but I promise you can do this. It doesn't get any easier than this, and it'll taste way better if you try to make a pound cake from a box mix. I don't know why people try to make pound cakes from a box mix. It does not taste the same, but this will taste like a traditional homemade pound cake like your grandma made it. So I'm just taking my pound cake pan and I'm tapping it, and you want to get rid of the air bubbles, and I'm shaking it around, making sure the pound cake batter is going from edge to edge. I'm not concerned about it getting too close to the pan or getting stuck to the pan because, like I said, we sprayed it down, we threw this in the freezer, so the pan is solidified, and when we bake this, it's going to come out very easily. You will see. If you're enjoying this video so far, definitely give this a like and share this with friends that have trouble baking. I guarantee if they follow these instructions, they'll have a great pound cake as well. So now I'm putting this in the 325 oven. Now bake time is going to differ from oven to oven. Mine took an hour and 30 minutes. Let me show you how you will know that your pound cake is done. So I'm going to get a toothpick and I'm going to insert it on both sides of the cake. Very important that you insert it on both sides. And as you can see, the toothpick comes out clean. It has a little bit of crumbs on there, but not a lot. Now this is when I checked the pound cake earlier. If your toothpick looks like this, then it's definitely not done, and you want to bake it for an additional 15 minutes. So now here comes the stressful part of me taking the pound cake out of the pan. So let your pound cake cool for about 10 minutes, and this is the most stressful part of me actually removing the pound cake from the pan. But as you can see, it came out instantly and it was great. No stickage on the pan whatsoever. So now I'm going to flip the pound cake back over. So I got another cake board and I'm just going to take it and twist it and just turn it around. Now you can have it bottom up or, the front facing like you're taking it out the oven way as well. You're going to let the cake completely cool. So for about 30 minutes, and then you can cut into it. Now, if you guys want to add a glaze, you most certainly can add a glaze. But yeah, that's it, folks. That's how you make the easy Vanilla Buttermilk Poundcake is the best pound cake on earth, and I'm going to teach you how to make it from scratch. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. So the first thing we're going to do is get some softened butter. This is softened to room temperature, and we need about 3 sticks of that. Now, this butter is Kerrygold butter, but you can use regular butter if you want to. Next, you're going to add in 3 cups of granulated sugar. Now, you're going to beat this on high speed for about 5 to 10 minutes until it becomes lighter in color. While your butter and sugar is mixing, you're going to crack in your eggs. And I'm using about 6 eggs, and they're all at room temperature. So make sure that you do that because it is very important that everything emulsifies into the sugar and butter. So you want to make sure that your eggs are room temperature and they're ready to go. Now, I've seen people use 5 eggs instead of 6 eggs. In this recipe, I was taught to use 6 eggs. So now that my butter and sugar has combined and it is white and pale in color, I'm going to scrape down my bowl, and then I'm going to add in vanilla extract to my eggs, and I'm going to put in my eggs one at a time on low speed. It's very important that you mix your eggs on low speed and go one at a time because you want all of that to emulsify with your butter and sugar. Also, you want to make sure that you see no yellow egg yolk before adding in the next egg. That is super important, and this is where a lot of people pound cakes go wrong. So make
make sure you guys are doing that. And you can see me going in slow one at a time. It looked like my mixer is on high speed, but it's actually sped up in the editing part of this video. So, you know, I do have the mixer on low speed. Once you get to your last egg, you're going to want to scrape down before adding in your flour and buttermilk mixture. This is very important because sometimes the yolk can get kind of nestled at the bottom. So you want to make sure all of that is combined. So what I'm going to do now is measure out my whole fat buttermilk. I'm using whole fat buttermilk, but you can use 2% for me. Fat equals flavor, and the more fat that you have in your buttermilk, the more flavor is in a pound cake. So before I add in my flour and buttermilk, I'm going to give it a final mix in my mixer. Today I'm using White Lily all-purpose flour as my flour of choice. I think it's better than cake flour, just in my opinion. What I'm going to do is add salt and baking powder, and we're going to use one of those old school sifters to kind of sift that baking powder, salt, and flour into like a plastic container. And what I'm doing now is I'm going to add 2 scoops of that flour mix, and then going with that buttermilk. We're going to alternate and end with flour. We're starting and ending with flour, excuse me. But you just want to make sure everything is emulsified, and just so you guys know, this is on low speed. And I'm just making sure everything is well combined into the cake batter before I add in the next ingredient. Now with this part of the recipe, you want to be a little bit careful because you don't want to overmix your batter and create gluten strands. Gluten strands is what make your pound cake tough. So be careful. I know it looked like my mixer is going fast, but I sped up this video. It's really on low speed, which is on 1 or 2. So you're going to get the rest of your flour mixture, and you're going to streamline that into your cake batter. Once everything is in there, you want to stop the mixer immediately, and you want to mix by hand. So I'm using a spatula, and you can see that my cake batter is velvety smooth. It's no lumps. I can move my spatula freely, and it doesn't get stuck. It is thick. It is like a thick pound cake batter, but it's still soft, and you will see that at the end result. So now I'm going to put this in a pound cake pan. Now this is a removable bottom pound cake pan. You can find this at Walmart for about $12, or you can use one of those regular bundt pans if you like. But you want to make sure it's a 13 cup or more pound cake pan. You can see me slowly adding the pound cake batter on each side of the pound cake pan to make sure that it's even. And after that, I'm going to tap it to try to get all of the air out of it. And I'm going to use a spatula to kind of smooth it out at the top. This is just kind of, you know, what I'm doing. You don't have to do this. Just kind of makes it look a little bit better. Now, this is going in a preheated 325-degree oven for 1 hour and 30 minutes. I would check between 1 hour and 10 minutes to make sure that you're not over baking this. Every oven is different, but you're going to have a golden brown exterior, and then whatever you insert, a toothpick or, you know, a butter knife, it should come out clean on all sides before you're ready to start glazing. Now the cake is going to be moist, so you do see a little bit of particles on my butter knife. You want to let this cool for at least 10 minutes before trying to remove it. While the cake is cooling, we're going to make our vanilla glaze. So I'm going in with 3 tablespoons of whole milk. Now you can use 2% milk if you like. And then I'm going to add in a little bit of vanilla extract and then some butter. And I'm going to let that melt in the microwave before adding in my powdered sugar. The butter is going to help the glaze set up really well on top of the cake, not be super runny. So we're going to throw this in the microwave to make sure there's no lumps in it before adding it to our cake. And I'm just using a measuring cup to just kind of put that on the cake. And you can kind of see that I'm trying to get every part of the top of the cake. And once I got it on top of the cake, I'm going to use something to kind of push it to the edges to create those little drip parts, and then let it solidify. And you can kind of see that it has a nice little glaze on top and is ready to eat. You can see that the interior of the cake is super moist and has a nice crust on the edges. It has a nice drip line, and it looks good. It tastes good, and I promise you guys are going to love this recipe. Also, the pound cake recipe and my pound cake ebook will be in the bio, and make sure you guys like and subscribe for more. Peace out.